Oh my God! All right, yeah, we're live. So with that,
We are live.
And we're live with our great guest, Mr. Richard Cook. Round of applause, everyone. Richard Cook. Richard Cook is in the house. If you notice, there are substantial people missing. Shane is behind the camera, but he's here.
What up, dog?
What up, dog? And Mikey C, our good old friend Mikey C had to work on his AC, I guess in his Rogue One. So he had to give up a couple Trump dollars to get his
Dry
stuff
humor.
fixed. Yeah.
All the Trump dollars.
So we wish he was here because I'm gonna have to fill a void because every time that we talk about Richard, Mike loves you, Richard, as he should. Mike loves Richard Cook, and he should because Richard Cook's a fantastic human being. Have you met my friend Richard Cook?
Have you met me? Probably at a few cons. I've probably seen many of your faces several times.
Many faces because you go to pretty much.
I get
all
around.
Of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a wanderer.
Yeah, I'm a wanderer.
But
I get around.
But you drive to most of these from Central America.
I used to.
But now you're a world traveler.
But now I'm a world traveler because I got over a long-standing fear of being in a plane. Took my first flight at after 28 years or something like that out of PAX East and just this last March. So it's kind of interesting to be over that really bad fear once and for all, and I can stop driving every damn place I go because I was driving from Kansas. So yeah, half the country, I probably traveled the entire country several times over the last year just driving to these cons and stuff.
Right. So what was it that made you afraid of flying in the first place? Was there something specific that was just you're like, no, fuck planes?
You know, it started probably with my mom taking me on a plane when I was 3 years old, and that was the last time I remember being on a plane. Just because she told me she had to drag me kicking and screaming onto the damn plane the whole time we were going through that trip. And I don't know, it just something about it, just the steel tube 30,000 feet in the air thing. That's basically what it was. It just every time struck fear into my heart. Thinking about
technology.
Why is this huge object floating in the sky, and how does it stay up there? But
fucking science, man.
Fucking science.
Fucking science.
I'm over it now, and that's one thing. It's going to open up a lot of doors for sure. But it's hard explaining a phobia to somebody. It's not just like a fear.
Sure,
it's hard explaining a phobia to somebody. It's something that just stops you in your tracks, and there's no analyzing it. There's no getting over it.
It's just not your thing.
Yeah.
No, I get it, man.
Yeah.
That's me and spearmint gum. No, it's not my thing.
Wait, what?
It's not even a phobia.
Yeah, I know about this.
It's just a deep-seated hatred for the person that's doing it.
How did I not know this?
Oh no, yeah, spearmint gum. You didn't know this?
No.
You didn't know this, Shane?
No.
I know about this, and I thought about trolling you a few times by just being in your general presence, chewing some gum.
We would
but
not.
I
we would not be friends.
you would probably kill me.
I would be like, "Fuck you, man!" Because that's the thing. It's when it's the same thing. Is that'd be me being like, "Oh man, you're afraid of planes," and then secretly buying you a ticket to England, and be like, "You're gonna deal with this fear right now."
You're afraid of snakes? Here's a king cobra.
Yeah, not a cool thing to do. Not a friendly thing to do. So people so now that you all know this, if you guys come around and you're chewing spearmint gum on purpose.
Wait, so is it just a chewing, or is it?
No, so it's gum in general, but the smell of spearmint gum, I can smell it from a really far away.
What about Big Red?
Yeah, no, Big Red's pretty gross too, but I just don't like Big Red. It's not spearmint, but Big Red's this weird mixture of red mint and awful. I don't get it. It's kind of cinnamony too. What the fuck is going on there? It wants to be too many things. Big Red needs to stay in its lane.
All right.
That's all I'm saying.
Just stay in your lane, Big Red.
Stay in your lane, Big Red soda. Get the fuck out of here with that. Yeah.
Sounds like some inner city road rage slang.
Get out of here, Big Red.
Stay in your lane, Big Red.
Yeah. Man, honestly, that could be said for me. I didn't know if that was just talking to me. Easy, Big Red.
Just stay over there.
Richard Cook calls me Big Red now.
Oh my God.
I call you P90 Cook.
Richard.
P90 Cook.
The puns came out of nowhere today, just hitting me like freaking dodgeballs. P90 Cook, rippled abs coffee, or whatever the hell you were talking about.
It was a rippled latte, bro.
It was a rippled latte.
Ironically, so here at Nirvana Coffee, we're here at Nirvana Coffee and Nirvana Spirits. Richard, this is the second or third time you've been.
Yep.
So they have a feature down here in the coffee shop where you can order a latte and you can actually take a picture of yourself. You can kind of customize it on this app that's called Ripple. and then you give it, or you give the code, or you send it to like the baristas.
They got like this machine that prints it into the foam on top of your
and it's
cup.
like 3D printing that they put on the top of your latte.
Yeah.
And it's called Ripple. And Richard's like, which one of these pictures of my abs should I do?
God.
So like the irony was that it was a rippled abs latte with
all
my
this guy's
Ripple.
all this guy puns. Yeah, he's been coming up with them all day.
I'm going to compliment you all the time, Richard. Easy. It's just the thing that we do. So going back to your fear of planes.
Sure.
So it was just like when you got on the plane, you went to PAX East, so you were traveling to Boston.
I was doing the 3-con circuit. I went from GDC in San Francisco to PAX East in Boston to South by Southwest Gaming.
So it wasn't
Boston.
one plane flight; it was numerous plane
No.
flights.
So I had a train ticket booked out of Kansas to San Francisco.
How long does that shit take?
A long fucking time.
God.
Hey,
A
trains are pretty
long
dope
time.
though. I'm not
Trains
gonna
are
lie.
trains are dope.
pretty
But
Yeah, it's better than Greyhound. That's the real nightmare right
Oh
there.
no, that's yeah.
Greyhound buses are kind of just I'm never ever
a
doing that
seedy
shit
place
again.
for seedy individuals.
You have no idea.
I don't, because I drive a personal car or take airplanes.
Yeah.
But if someone's there with spearmint gum, I will burn that bitch to the ground.
That would probably be the least of your worries. There's some way nasty shit that happens on a bus sometimes.
On a bus? Okay.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I took the train from Kansas to San Francisco for GDC, and then I went from GDC also on a train to Boston for PAX. So that's the real from San Francisco to Boston in a train. That's like that's a long trip. That's
Literally cross country.
That's 4 days on a train, and
Non-stop?
Yeah. I mean, there were stops, but I didn't get off. I was like, screw it.
You're like, nope.
No, because I was like, I'm not going to miss this shit. Like, I can't book another thing out of here. I don't have the money for that, so I'm staying on this damn train until it starts going again. And spent most of my time in the observation cart where the seating's a lot more open or whatever. But I mean, that's just like little stuff. But when I was in Boston, I hadn't yet booked my train out back home or back to Austin for South by Southwest Gaming, so I didn't have a way out of Boston yet, and I had planned on booking the train again, except that when I went to do it, it was sold out. And so I was like, okay, what the hell am I gonna do? And some personal kind of things happen where I just kind of had an inner look at myself, going, why the hell am I letting myself like be defined by all these mistakes in my life? Why am I afraid of flying? Why am I this? Why am I that? And I said, screw it, and I booked a plane out of Boston. And like I said, that was my first flight in 28 years that I was going to be on. So it was kind of it was a ride, just like getting up to that point, like hyping myself up to that point. I was in the terminal, just like I hadn't slept. I was trying to get myself so tired that I would sleep on the plane
You were just
and
like,
not
as soon as
have
you
to
took off, you're like,
experience
okay,
it.
whatever, I'm out.
Yeah, and that totally did not happen at all. Like all the way up to the hour, I was up, and I think I was, of all things, I was drinking ZQuil, the new NyQuil stuff.
Oh, I'm familiar, friend.
Yeah,
That's not, like I tried doing that on my way to England one time. It was like an 8-hour flight. And I'm just like, it's NyQuil time. I was like sipping on some scissor, and then the plane took off, and then I was like, I'm fucking flying to England, and I'm up the whole time. I overcame an entire bottle of scissor. Take that, Lil Wayne.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's what happened to
And
you.
I was just drowning the stuff, and it did not work because adrenaline, man.
Yeah.
Adrenaline was just going crazy throughout my body, and I was up through the whole takeoff and the descent and everything. And I slept through the whole flight, I guess, though, according to the flight person who told me that. But
They're called attendants.
That guy.
the flight person.
The flight person. The individual in charge of being a flight person.
But yeah, and so the flight itself didn't bother me too much, but the takeoff and the descent still kind of like get me a little bit, because I guess we went through some turbulence on that flight.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing to experience the first time you've flown in that long, is to not really understand the emotions and things like that. And so I went total Zen mode on it, where I was just like, this is normal. This is supposed to be happening. The entire time I was in the descent, or the entire time I was taking off, I was like, all these motions, this is supposed to be happening. Because feeling that up and down, like when you're taking off or coming down. That's a weird thing to experience. So, and again, it's a strange thing to talk to people about because people do this every single day. Except that for me, like I said, it's been a lifelong thing that is just
Not your
eating at
thing.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
I get
eating
that.
at me. And everybody looks at me like flying. Well, what's the big deal? Like, what are you so afraid of? And it's like, well, it's easy for you, you
Yeah.
know. But that's just something
That you haven't done in a long
that
time.
I haven't done in a long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Well, good for you, man.
So-
That's a big accomplishment. I mean, being afraid of something is a huge thing to overcome, and like, it also probably opens way more doors for you now that you can.
It absolutely does. It opens international travel, which I've been wanting to do for a very long time.
As opposed to taking a boat,
As opposed to taking a boat. Well,
as they call them, the trains of the ocean.
prior to this,
unlike the sharks
there
of the
are
desert.
some
which is-
transcontinental cruises, and I was looking into doing some of those to go to some
Yeah?
of these concerts.
you're like
prior to the
does the
air thing.
Disney cruise line travel from here to Europe?
Yeah,
Because if
I
I'm
was
gonna
like-
if I'm gonna have fellow passengers, it may as well be Mickey Mouse.
yeah. I think there's a few of them, but the one that I found is the Queen Mary 2 or something like that. It goes out of New York or whatever, and it's like, yeah, okay.
It's like a new Titanic.
But it's like $2,000 for one of those transcontinentals one way.
Because it's mostly for relaxation and
Yeah.
not to get
yeah,
there.
it's not supposed to be like a prime transportation choice.
Right. It's
So-
it's like some like arrogant old person is like, oh no, friend, we're not flying to Europe. We're taking it by sea,
We're just going.
Yeah.
You know.
like our ancestors did,
Yes,
except backwards.
the Mayflower.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a trip getting over that. But
Well, good for you, man. One of the things that I find most exciting, this is like not entry level stuff. This is once you've gone on like 5 or 6. But whenever you're like in the back of the plane or you wait to use the restroom, and people have their windows open and like it's like in the middle of the day, and like what I always found was the weirdest is like when you're standing in the plane and you're looking out the window, you're like, I'm standing in the sky.
no, I had that too because
Yeah.
I got up the nerve to go to the bathroom because I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was walking
When
down.
you gotta
the
go, you gotta
Yeah,
go.
when you gotta go, you gotta go.
gotta
That's
go.
what they say. And,
That's what Jeff
and then
Goldblum says.
and then you get eaten by a T-Rex.
That's right.
But yeah, I was standing in the bathroom, like pissing at. I was going, I'm pissing at 30,000 feet in the air. All right,
Take that, gravity.
It was just a weird thought that ran through my head. I was like, wow, this is an interesting situation. So
Right.
yeah,
Well, that's exciting, man. That's good for you.
Thank you.
It's a big step. So among getting on a plane for the first time in 28 years, you have a lot of things that are happening, dude. Like, so you've been a good friend of mine. I personally know a lot of the things that you've been doing. I don't think you've met Shane before. You know Mike.
Not formally. I think we met the last time I was hanging
He's
out.
Yeah, I've
he's
seen
very
that now.
he's very handsome,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he makes all of this happen.
all
so
of the stuffs.
All props
all the
props to
magic
Mr.
technical
Shane
stuff.
at Roxas Studios.
That's right.
Yeah, man. So a lot of good things taken off with the photography.
Yeah, there's lots of projects I want to announce, but I can't just yet. But since Anime Expo is over in LA or whatever, I got the peeps that I've been working with are now back on board with a lot of stuff. So hopefully some pretty cool announcements this week. So
NDAs.
NDAs.
yeah, no, all the fun stuff.
All the fun stuffs. But Shane's a mover and a shaker, just like you. You have a lot of things coming up. You're in town actually. You're visiting me and Tiff, who unfortunately isn't on the show today because we have stuff we got to do at the house and we're packing because we're going to be driving to El Paso at the end of the week.
Crazy.
Doing all kinds of we're crazy people. So
You're really going to Juarez is where you're going, and you're going to do some drug stuff.
Drug stuff.
I mean, ease up. Don't put that on the show. I mean, come on, that's
Border agents.
Oh my
What's
God.
funny is like traveling to El Paso, like that's everyone's like everyone's pitched to me. They're like, you can see the border. It's like right there, and I'm like,
Yeah, cool.
Sweet.
I'm not gonna smuggle a couple.
no. Then
kilos or
again,
anything.
like Tiff has promised me like a burrito the size of my arm, so I'm like, let's do that.
Yeah.
I'm all about it, like authentic giant burritos.
Burritos over heroin. Got it.
Yeah, burritos over heroin, or you both. You shove
Or
the
both.
heroin inside
Put
of
the
the
heroin
burrito.
inside the burrito.
That's how you bring it up. Like, I was just visiting El Paso, and like the state trooper's like, were you really?
Is that
Let me
what
open
you're
this.
doing?
Let me open this burrito up.
I have gone to that. I've been on spring break to South Padre Island in 2007, and we crossed the border into Matamoros, which is really bad. Like it's a pretty
What's North Mexico? I kind of
torn
just
up
assumed that was
town.
going to be the thing.
So going there was interesting, and navigating around. This is kind of before GPS was a big thing. So navigating around just by
By map?
asking people and stuff like
Did
that.
you feel like Nathan Drake? You're like,
I felt like I was going
we're
to
so
get
close to
killed.
Juarez, the
but
hidden temple.
because
of
I was a
Juarez.
passenger, I was sitting in the back seat while my friend's asking, this random person in the streets for directions, and I guess he translated for me and said he's like, we don't like foreigners or we don't like outsiders here or something. I was like, oh shit, like get us out of here, dude.
He's like, he doesn't like you either.
Yeah,
Star Wars jokes. Eh?
yeah, I got it. It was a little bad timing, but I got it.
Shut your mouth.
Tee-hee.
So, traveling.
They showed up in Rogue One. Hey, see, I know the reference.
Yeah, you get it. So, but you're going to RTX this weekend. So, like, tell us why you're going to RTX, man. Lots of things happening there. You're going to hang out with the filthy casual boys.
Filthy Casual Boys,
with
Mike and
Mr.
Jay.
Mike and Jay.
Mike and Jay. Yeah, Mike's launching a game. He just finished up, which I helped him with trailer stuff a little bit, which was really cool. A game of all things called Shit on Your Friends.
Shit on your friends.
Sounds like a winner.
And
I'll play.
it's a lovely game. It's fun as hell, And so I'm going out there supporting him doing that stuff. The other main thing I'm going out there for is a game called Battle Sloths that I worked on with a few people, and we're launching that because we got published by Rooster Teeth. So if for people not in the know, RTX is Rooster Teeth's Expo. That's what it stands for. So.
Which is silly because Expo starts with an E.
Exactly.
Those vowels always get like the shaft for the fancier
PAX. Penny Arcade Expo.
But it would be like, instead it would be pay, like bay.
Pay.
No one wants pay. PAE. You know what you need to do to get to PAX? You gotta pay.
Yeah, you gotta pay. Pretty
Pay
decent
to get
bucks.
to PAX.
Actually, you just have to be on time because those shit sell out fast.
They do.
As hell.
I mean, it's like
it's a
not
good
as
thing.
bad. It's not as bad as like Comic Con, like San Diego
Oh hell
Comic
no!
Con.
Oh, not even
That thing's
close.
up and it's gone in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe PAX West can compete with that a little bit because I know PAX West sells out really, really quickly. But no, San Diego Comic Con's like no contest in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
That shit sells out pretty.
You
fast.
might as well not even go.
You might as well not even try.
Yeah.
You're just gonna be in a sea of people anyway, and if you're claustrophobic, then it's probably gonna be the death of you. So,
Right. How many times have you been to San Diego Comic Con?
Never. I
No?
almost got invited to speak this year, but it just kind of didn't work out. So
The San Diego Convention Center is bonkers, and San Diego Comic Con is even worse. It's the biggest expo hall I think that I've been in. I mean, it's like a good like mile or something, like just with all the halls
Wow.
together. It's huge. It's really long, and you can't even see the other end of the expo, but it just kind of keeps going, and the whole convention like spills out into the Gaslight District, which is like right there, or the Gaslamp District, I guess. And it's a really cool kind of downtown area. But
I've seen a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
Of the aforementioned seas of people. I've seen a lot of pictures and stuff like that. The biggest convention I've experienced thus far is E3.
Yeah.
Because the LA Convention Center is pretty huge too.
right.
So.
But I mean, and you didn't go to E3 this year, but you had passes, but you had to pass on it because you were working on.
I was working on a game that I've been working on for about 2 years, a game called Super Combat Fighter, and it's good segue, by the way.
It's like I've been doing this for a
It's
while.
like I've been doing this for a while or something. It's a game I've been working on for about 2 years, and it's like the old throwback digitized fighters, like Mortal Kombat style.
But with real people.
Yeah, so digitized actors, you're filming real people.
So
doing
once
real
I lose
stuff.
20 pounds, I'm going to be in this game.
Yeah, we have a character who is based on.
But I
talked to him and Tiff about this idea years ago.
Right.
And it was always supposed to come to fruition, but development hell is a thing, so it just continues on and on and on until we're hopefully going to get the green light on something here soon, and that means we can work on it more consistently. But just a lot of on and off development and stuff like that, and trying to get it together, so hopefully make some headway soon.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's been in the works for a long time. I even got the stamp of approval from Ed Boon himself. Like, I saw him at a party at E3
And he was like, shit, yeah.
2015. I showed him, or it was last year, and I showed him a trailer, and he was on his way out, so he was just like watching, and it has a lot of homages to MK3 and MK2 and stuff in it. He's like just laughing, is like that kind of like laugh of approval, like
Yeah.
he's not like just thinking of it as a joke or anything like that. But he's excited about
That
it.
or he's like,
Hey, good luck with that, dude.
Can't wait to see this lawsuit,
Yeah, right.
guy.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah, so it was cool to have that with him, and you know, hopefully once I get it done, I've always said once it's done, I'm gonna send him a kind of special care package with it, with a pair of glasses that says these are $500 sunglasses, asshole.
That's awesome, man. I mean, like it's you are one of the hardest working people that I know. I mean, you're a close friend of mine, but you also, you know, I constantly joke that I'm your biggest fan. I mean, I'm going to be your biggest advertisement for everything that you do, because you know I believe in what you do. But you've been, you know, the very first kind of piece of success that you had was an independent movie that you filmed on your phone. For people who don't know Richard James Cook, but it was called Pixels and Polygons.
Pixels and Polygons, yeah.
And you filmed that on your phone, and then that kind of became like a big success on YouTube.
It was an experimentation thing. This was like around the time that Indie Game the movie came out.
Right.
So I think a lot of people were kind of inspired to do some more video stuff, and I was one of those people. And I was broke as hell. Like, just,
aren't we all?
Just straight up, I was broke as hell. I was living in Orlando at the time, and you know, didn't have $1 to my name. So I was like, what the hell can I do? What the hell can I do? I guess I'm just gonna pick up my phone and start doing a dev diary type of thing. And I did that, and then it kind of just transitioned into maybe I should make this into a whole movie. And it was a Samsung Galaxy S3 phone that I had, and that's all I had. In a webcam, like a 720p webcam or something like that, and I shot the whole movie on that. Edited it together in After Effects, the entire thing, which is a big no-no. You know, you don't do that with full compositions. That's not what After Effects is for. But
so not even Premiere, you went straight with After Effects.
That's all I knew.
Oh
was
my God.
After Effects.
That's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah, it was a total nightmare. Memory cache rendering, the full compositions and stuff like that, just to preview. Oh, it's such a nightmare. But you know, that's kind of like the woes of learning stuff and being, you know, an inexperienced person, just trying to learn something and just trying to just experimenting with stuff. I
mean, that's kind of like, wouldn't you say that like it's kind of a testament to like anybody that kind of wants to create, where it's like, well, just do it.
Yeah.
Start doing it until like, and then when you start hitting walls and you start hitting complications, you're like, there's got to be an easy way to do this.
Yeah.
And then that's when you learn other software. I mean, Shane, you can attest to this too. I mean, you do a ton of After Effects, and you know you're really into photography now with, you know, your own studio. But even something you do on the day to day, you know, you do a lot of special effects and After Effects. Like, how did you find that when you started doing this? What were some of the walls that you were hitting that made you kind of look in other directions?
Well, I mean, with After Effects, I basically use that every day now. I even do my photography editing, not like the normal stuff, but like when I want to do post effects, I usually do it in After Effects now anyways. So I do all my basic color grading and stuff in Photoshop, and then I bring it over into After Effects to add all my cool stuff. But, I mean, like, I didn't have that workflow originally. I mean, I started off in Photoshop doing everything, and I never even used Lightroom. And a lot of, like, hardcore photographers that, like, went to school for it and all this other stuff, like, they're hardcore into Lightroom. I'm like, I don't ever use that. I use Bridge to view my stuff, but they're like, why do you use that?
And you're like, well, maybe I should.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then you start looking at that software and then figuring out what it was. But, like, my first, like, 3D Photoshop tutorial thing was, like, 3D text using, dang, what was this? You might know. What's the open software for like 3D modeling and stuff? It's not like Maya or Max. It's the Blender.
Yeah, Blender. I know Blender.
Yeah, so like back in the day when I first started, I was like, oh, dude, I can do 3D stuff? This is dope. So like I opened up Blender and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like I had no idea what I was doing. And then that's when I started going to school, and then they taught me Maya. And then I found Cinema 4D, which is for motion graphics and like broadcast stuff. So it's kind of like you hop, you know, from like industry standard, but also to like be what you can afford and what you actually want to learn and stuff like that too. So yeah, editing in After Effects, that's nuts. I mean, I've done it for small clips and stuff.
Yeah,
but, like,
that's what it's meant for.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't do full compositions in After Effects.
So like, yeah, you do all your editing in like either Premiere,
you do your
or
motion
Final Cut,
graphics and stuff like that in After Effects, you know. But no, I'm with you on that. Like I went to Full Sail, so I learned Maya from the get go.
Nice.
And I think we started on 4.5 or something
Gotcha.
like that. And so yeah, that's what I learned from the get go. And I knew about Blender and all that stuff, but since the software was being provided to me, I just kind of like learned it off of that. Never touched on Max much, even though it was 3ds Max was more and more becoming an industry standard for the game industry.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And Maya was leaning more towards movies.
Yeah, animation and film. Exactly.
Yeah. So, but for me, it didn't matter because I was a 3D modeler, and they both did the same
thing.
functions.
Yeah, exactly.
In just different ways.
So do you feel that that was kind of the key that split you in kind of two directions, but one and the same? Because, you know, you work on video games, you work on a lot of indie games, you're working on a game yourself, you know, like you mentioned earlier, you're working on your own game, but you're also, you know, a really qualified, a really excellent filmmaker.
Well, yeah, and the filmmaking thing again was just from experimentation. I won't lie, I was inspired by Indie Game Movie when it came out. It was a great movie. I wanted to tell a less rose-colored glasses version of that, where the end might not necessarily be a success type of thing, you know.
But this is pixels and polygons?
Yeah, pixels and polygons is the same. You try to paint it in that way in a lot of the ways you do things, but I mean there are more failures in our industry than there are successes.
Right.
And if you try to paint every situation of any piece of media that you're putting out there that way, it kind of gives people the wrong impression. I mean, you can inspire somebody. I still think you can inspire somebody with failure, you know, and that's what I kind of set out to do, because it's kind of letting people know that even if you fail, you shouldn't stop doing what you're doing, which a lot of people do. So that's kind of what my intention was with Pixels and Polygons. I want the end to be good. I want my ending to say it was published by this huge $1 million company and blah, 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 this, you know, but that's not necessarily always the case. My whole career from the start, from Maya 4.5 at Full Sail in 2003 is when I went, to now, you know, it's just been this mishmash of weird circumstances and ups and downs, and probably 80% failure, 20% success.
You know, I think there's a testament to that. There's something to be said about that, is that your journey has really kind of been captured by you capturing the journey.
Yeah, I tell people, like, I don't have to tell you about my failures. They're documented. You know, you can go look that stuff up.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, too, you know, when you have like a final product, I mean, your most recent movie, which we'll get to in a second, has really kind of a message of like, you know, this other project that I worked on didn't really take off, or at least yet, but this movie did, and now this movie is here. And what really matters, and I think the thing that I take away from is being your friend and just being a fan of your work in general, is that you're like, you know, yeah, this might not be a huge commercial success, or this maybe didn't reach the audience that I intended, or whatever, but like, you know what, I made something. I created something.
Yeah,
and that's really what it's all about, is like, it's about creating regardless of the commendations. Or
I think Mike from Filthy Casual, if anybody out there in Streamland knows, you know, Filthy Casual.
I think a lot of people know Filthy Casual.
Yeah, they're a huge clothing brand, and
but they're good friends of ours.
Yeah,
Mike and Jay
they're
are
good friends of ours as
yeah.
well. And I think Mike even recently tweeted out something. He was asking what people's definition of success was, and the first thing that came to mind, the first thing I answered to him was that I finished something, and that's all that matters to me, is if I finish something. You know, I'm gonna obviously try to put it out there and maybe try to make something of it, but if it doesn't become something, it doesn't bother me anymore.
One of the things that that really resonated, that the Filthy Casual guys said, and we're not even sponsored by we're not like,
we're
I'm
not
wearing
sponsored
a hat.
by.
I paid for this hat with cash money because
But you have modeled for them.
I have modeled for them, and I love their stuff, man. Like I'm genuinely a fan. I know a lot of streamers are, but their stuff is really good. But one of the things that Mike and Jay both have said to me in the past is that they're like, yeah, we were an overnight success, but it only took 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, 10 years in the making, and they're an overnight success, which is kind of a cool testament to the fact where it's like, yeah, man, like, you keep working, and keep working, and then once, like, sometimes
every
once in a while, like, one thing will resonate with people, and then that's what you go with.
Everything is an overnight success to people who see it from an outside perspective.
Sure.
That's what my experience has been.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a barrier I've tried breaking down. Again, like with the less rose-colored glasses version of this tale of the indie, of the everyday indie who's working and trying to get things going. You know, this is something I've been trying to tear down for a long time, is this, you know, and bring forth this transparency of seeing all these things that are going on behind the scenes that people don't usually see.
Right.
because they don't see you working. They don't see the in-between days, as I like to call them, the days where
struggle.
you're just sitting in front of the computer
Right.
trying to get something going.
Yeah.
And there's way more of those days than there are me at cons with my facade going, hey, what's up, everybody? I'm a huge success and blah, 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 this. And I don't do that anyway, but...
Yeah.
but
Yeah, this guy is giving himself too much credit. He's arrogant as fuck. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. You're the most humble dude, and I'm not, which is why I'll always be
but
your...
still,
hype man.
you try to put on your best when you go out to the cons and stuff because you want to be that front-facing personality that's
No one wants to be perceived a failure.
yeah.
No one wants to be perceived as struggling.
Yeah.
No one wants that, but unfortunately, that's the reality that a lot of content creators and people who are making things on their own and independent filmmakers, independent game makers have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I have a full-time job, as a lot of people know, but I work on this. I work on this with Shane, and I work on this with Mike, and we have a lot of friends that support it. But it's always it's a constant uphill thing. It's a community kind of thing, and my wife is a huge proponent to that too because we got the most followers whenever Tiff is on.
That's true.
People jump on and they're like, "Oh man, Tiff's not on tonight." I was like, "Sorry,
Sorry, guys.
sorry." Hey, Tiff's here. What's up, fam? She popped in just in time to hear us complimenting her. That's good. I did not know that she was here, so you're welcome. Wife. No, but,
That's hilarious.
no, but yeah. So kind of going back to some of the stuff that you're currently working on. You and I met. Actually, we talked about your first film. You and I met while you were working on your second film, which had pixels in the title as well.
Yeah, I don't know what my thing was with pixels.
Hey, no, I mean you can call it the
let me
the
be
indie
clever.
the indie trilogy, man, and then you move on and you do something beyond that.
Yeah.
But pixels and poetry.
Pixel
poetry.
Yeah.
Pixel poetry.
Yeah.
I met you through our good friend Scott Patterson.
Yes.
Original PSP.
Yeah.
It's funny because his name, his title, and his handle on Twitter and everything else has always been Original PSP, and it's you see Patrick first.
Yeah.
Don't call him that.
Don't call him that.
His
He
name
doesn't,
is
he doesn't
Scott.
like being called Patrick.
But he reached out to me, man. Great dude. He's given me so many opportunities, and I still get to work with Scott very often, which is exciting. We've had him on the show, but he reached out. He reached out to me because you had reached out to him. You had originally kind of had a dialogue with him first, right?
Yeah.
So how did you know Scott?
I didn't. This is another thing that I try to tear down for people, especially when I do my talks and stuff like that. Is I didn't magically get to know these people just by just being in their presence or something like that. Sometimes that happens, but a lot of the people I reach out to through email and just try to build a rapport with people and try to directly communicate with people.
It was years before I really
Yeah.
You were talking about this earlier, where you live in Wichita, and it's Wichita's really trying to come back because it used to be a place, and you're like, oh, I'm from Wichita, and it took me genuinely months, if not a year, to be like, oh, fucking Richard lives in Kansas.
Just
where is that on the map again?
Yeah, it's mostly flat. You know, I'm from a city called Wichita, which is an actual city, but it's not on the map for a lot of people because there's no creative culture there. Which for most cities that are on the map, there's some kind of creative thing going on there that people pay attention to. There's not really that for Wichita, so.
Well, you're gonna put it back on the map.
Yeah. Well,
Richard Cook. The city where
I'm going to get the hell out of there is what I'm going to do. Just like I tried to do before. But no, I mean, through Scott and stuff like that, and Scott knows that how this whole thing works. You introduce other people to other people, and that's how networks are built, man. Yeah. I know 70% of the people I know because I was introduced to them through people who, have that humility. I'm not going to keep this person from you because you might take an opportunity from me or blah, 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 this. And some people have that in the industry. I don't talk to those people. But most of the people I know I was introduced to, and I've been able to build a good relationship with a lot of people that way.
All good things flow back to you when you have the best interest in heart.
Yeah, I mean, if for me, it sounds so tropey to say, but for me, if other people are successful, I'm successful because a lot of times with the trailer work and stuff I do, it comes back to me they're working on a game that might be successful. They need a trailer for it.
And you made their game look kick ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I built the rapport. They come back to me and they talk about their trailers and stuff like that. I get paid work, and that's how I've been able to kind of keep myself afloat with freelance, So it's just a cycle. It's just a thing, we all kind of are in this together in a lot of ways, and you shouldn't forget that. So
I think that's extremely important, and one of the things too that I'd like to touch on is humility, and I think that's extremely important. And that's one of the characteristics, the number one characteristic I probably discovered first when I met you, is that you're just extremely humble. You work so hard on your stuff, and like Mike's not here, so we're gonna have to hype you up because Mike's not here. He's a huge fan.
Mike would
as
hype me up
as I am. We always do, man. Like every time we've been to a convention, especially if Mike's there, we want people to recognize your work because your stuff is excellent.
Yeah.
Pixel Poetry, the movie that I'm extremely humble because I haven't even mentioned this yet, but I'm on it.
He's in the movie.
I'm in the movie. That's how I met you. I was introduced to you through
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
We met up and we actually went to
We met up at Vickery Park.
Vickery Park in Plano,
Yeah.
and we shot a segment, and it ended up being a pretty great segment. But you were filming at the time. The concept for the movie, and it was a documentary, had shifted,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
really neat to see how you were able to kind of take the content that we had made and fit it into a grander picture. So the original idea was, are video games considered art?
Yeah.
But that idea evolved pretty rapidly. So tell me a little bit about that.
It evolved rapidly because it was necessary for it to do it in the landscape that I was producing that movie in. I mean, we were at a point when I was in the middle of making that movie. We were at a point where, as Adam Sessler, another good friend of ours,
Sure.
said, we had put that baby to bed. Where everybody was not arguing games were art in the majority
Right.
anymore. And so, like, this is even after the Supreme Court ruling and all that stuff happened, where they said it's a form of free speech. You can, it's protected by these laws and stuff like that. It was widely considered art to most people. And so I was in the middle of producing the movie specifically about that topic, and it had to shift because once that was out there for everybody to kind of just agree on, it just meant that the movie wasn't going to be as compelling anymore.
Sure.
So I had to kind of shift the movie around in its meaning and stuff. And so I just decided to kind of attack all the topics, all the controversial topics that kind of plague video games. So it was about the violence in video games thing. It was about art in games, and it was about like habits and stuff like that in video games and stuff. So I got the whole spectrum of all this stuff talked about from
The stigma
various
of video games.
different people in the industry.
And a lot of big name content creators too. I mean, like you said, like Adam Sessler was there, and at the time he was working for a different production company that he was doing stuff. But like you had Rami on, I believe, on that one.
No, Rami
was not on that one. He was on the newest one.
That was a kind of like little funny story in itself. He was supposed to be, and we were at GDC 2014. I was supposed to film an interview with him, and I got all my camera equipment ready, and he's like, I gotta go. And he like left, and I never saw him again for the rest of the thing, which he repaid me. He felt pretty bad about it, so he repaid me by showing up in my follow-up movie, Surviving Indy, instead.
Right.
So, but instead of him, I got his partner, Jan Willem, who's, everybody calls him JW. But I got him in the movie, and I guess he doesn't really do interviews that often, so it was kind of a lucky thing to get him in and talk about stuff like that. So it was also cool. He's also a good friend, and it was interesting to hear his perspective as well.
And then that one not only was Pixel Poetry, kind of just a really cool, multifaceted. I was blown away when it finally came out and you showed me a screener for it. It was not only was it a great movie, but it also was one of the first films to debut on Steam.
Yeah.
On there when they wanted to do like Friday night movies.
They
right?
didn't even have a link for movies yet. Whenever they started airing some of that stuff.
Right.
I think Pixel Poetry debuted on Steam 5 months after it originally debuted, and again, like Steam was just starting to do stuff, so that was an interesting kind of like discovery for people getting on the Steam and seeing movies and stuff they wouldn't usually see, and it was an interesting thing to see my stuff on there as well. Like, this is a huge service for video games and stuff like that, and just to see your own work in general on it. It never made it to like Netflix or anything, which would have been really cool. But Netflix's own business endeavors have kind of changed, so like they're not doing movies as much as they are shows now, and investing in that and stuff.
Right.
So it would have been cool to see it on that eventually. But again, I'm not like dwelling on the past.
But you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
It's
kind of a timeless movie. It's a timeless documentary. It doesn't have to necessarily just deal with the topics of the time. It deals with bigger pictures.
It's a timeless movie that was.
It's a timeless documentary
made by a lot of mistakes as well, and just like anything else. And I think if people heard more about that stuff, they'd be a lot more interested in the movies they watch, because a ton of movies were made by a ton of mistakes happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that wasn't intended to be filmed the way it was, and just
They made the
circumstantial stuff.
best out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane, you can probably attest to this too. Whenever you're taking pictures or doing, some photography, have you ever had an experience where you're like, that was not how I intended it to turn out, but you're like, I really love it because of this?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, not even photography in my commercial work that I've done. Like,
Sure.
yeah, a ton of it. Like, one time we were filming a 7-Eleven commercial here in downtown Dallas, and like the whole plan, we had it set one way, and then it like ended up storming, and we've already set up all this stuff, and we're like, well, shit, what are we gonna do? So in post, we ended up having to do a complete sky replacement, doing all kinds of other crazy stuff,
Oh, jeez.
and it's just like, well, that's not exactly how we intended it to go, but you do what you can, and you make something out of it, because you don't want to waste that footage, or
Right.
you don't want to waste any of the hours that you spent on something just because like something didn't go exactly according to plan. You just kind of have to roll with it, to be honest. So
Yeah.
and I've done that, especially for photography. You go to a convention and you meet a random person you've never met before, and you got to come up with this whole story of a shoot for them. And it's like, all right, what's the resources here? What are we gonna do? That's why I
Right.
hate shooting inside. I always have to go outside, or I try and scout beforehand, or do something else. Because
Do you feel like you have more success outside because you're able to change the environment?
Oh yeah, no, totally. You have way more control over the environment outside. I mean, you go into a convention like the Sheraton for like any of the stuff here. It's always that shitty convention carpet, and it's all the
Yeah.
really yellow lighting and stuff. It's just horrible. So
Warm lighting is the
oh my God,
worst.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
But then like you go
Yeah.
outside and there's trees
Yeah.
and clouds and buildings, and you can build a narrative around
Yeah.
that way easier. So
Also, I mean, also shout out to Shane because the lighting in here is a lot of his doing, which
Oh, man.
is
I'm working with what I got.
he's working with what he got in the booth. It's a small booth, and I don't think it was ever intended really for as much talk show
I
stuff.
hate warm lighting
as we do.
in shoots and stuff because I'm like, I'm gonna color grade it later anyway. So can I
Yeah.
just get some good bright lighting?
Exactly.
Right.
Well, then educating people too. Like I had to educate my boss at the studio yesterday because we have a big white cyc wall. They're like, "Well, just put some whatever lights we have in there." I'm like, "You can't just throw in bunches of different colored lights. in
Yeah.
there. Like it doesn't work that way." So, and then they see like, "Well, how much is like a Kino square, which is like this really big thing that like illuminates a wide area, and it's like $1,500 for one light."
Yeah, it's like a Kino anything is gonna cost you a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Do we need that?" I'm like, "I mean, kind of."
It's like the,
It's like-
it's like the Yeti coolers of lights.
yeah, basically.
All right.
They're, they're good lights.
Yeah, no, they really are. I
they're-
mean, it's just one of those things like you have to have certain lighting to do certain types of things, and you
Yeah.
can't just like piecemeal a couple of different things together.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. Otherwise, there's different color temperatures is what they're called, and I mean it's a whole.
we
big
kind
thing.
of like when we did your shoot at Vickery Park. I don't know if you remember, but I had an assistant with me. Or
Yeah, Joe was there.
Friend Joe was
Yeah.
there, and he was carrying like a big lamp that we had made like some makeshift soft boxes and stuff on and
Nice,
stuff like that.
alright.
It's just all resources and stuff.
It
like
worked.
that.
Yeah.
It worked. It
Yeah.
somehow it was a little bit too bright in retrospect, but it was like it worked with the mood lighting that that Vicar already had, and
Yeah.
had placed on you and stuff like that. So it worked, but it's totally, as an indie filmmaker, it's just been a resources thing for me. You,
Yeah.
you kind of just grab.
I've used
whatever.
headlights before from a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like both of you guys have created it. I know, like I worked with our good friend Zach Marchland, who also does a show on Fridays out of Nerdvana here. So shout out to Dweeb Factory and the Star Wars show. Is that still what they're calling it?
I think that's what they're calling it.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Zach. We'll plug you here, buddy. Love you. But yeah, I did a commercial with him when he was working for a previous company, and it was a more expensive kind of production, but it wasn't that expensive, and it ended up being like really good. And I think that's what's really interesting with the environment that we live in now with indie filmmaking, indie game making. Being a photographer, working for companies that you do is like you don't have to necessarily like throw a ton of money at something
Oh, not at all.
to make it
Yeah.
work. You just have to be really creative. But then again, once you get to that point where like you have money that you can expense,
Mhm.
there are tools that are much easier.
It's still cool to get to experience it every once in a while. So like you've been on expensive sets before
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I my YouTube channel has like around 16,000 subs or whatever, but there's this threshold at 10,000 that you get access to the YouTube space, which is in LA. The main one is, and then
Right.
there's a bunch of them around the world.
Oh, that's cool.
The YouTube space is basically go in, a la carte, any equipment you want, all free. Just go shoot on one of our sets with any equipment you want. And I remember when I booked
What?
that
That's
shoot,
cool.
all Canon cinema lenses, everything. I booked out lenses that I wasn't even going to use,
Yeah, I
like
just want them.
$200,000 worth of lenses,
Yep.
just so I could hold them and go, this is a $30,000 lens,
Kid
you
in
know.
the candy store, like I want reds, like 4 of them, just
Yeah,
right here.
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know, it's
exactly.
like
But no, yeah, it was kind of cool just to get to experience in that stuff and being in the middle of it. But I know I'm never going to be able to afford that stuff unless somebody gave me a full production budget or something. Even if somebody gave me a full production budget,
One
I
of
would
these
still be
days,
resourceful
yeah.
as hell.
See, this is the difference between like Richard. Like you would still be resourceful, and I'm just like, I know you're gonna get there, and this guy is gonna take me along for the ride up
Get
top.
That's right.
That's right. No, but it's you know, seeing the success and what you've learned over movies. I mean, I think one of the cool things to attribute to Mike is Mike took some footage when we were doing, I think, RedBeard TV stuff, the stuff for the YouTube channel, and we used some of that, you know,
Yeah.
B-roll
Yeah.
for your latest movie. Is Mike took a bunch of B-roll footage, and it ended up in your latest movie, which is Surviving Indy.
Yeah, he also lent me the camera for a little bit so I could shoot some stuff. Because this is a time when I was not doing well, to be honest, and again trying to be as resourceful as possible, but not having those resources was really holding up production for
Sure.
for a lot of different things. So it was cool to he let me borrow some of his stuff, and I got to shoot some stuff that ended up in the movie with it as well.
Yeah.
So it always helps. It helps to have that network. It helps to have friends who believe in the stuff you're doing, to be able to lend you stuff like that.
Well, I sure as fuck do. I mean, we're gonna have to get Shane to like watch some of your movies because I don't think he's seen any of them yet. But
I haven't yet. Yeah.
they're good. I mean, it's one of those things where what I love about his documentaries is that like they're lengthy movies. I think Surviving Ending is at like 111 minutes.
It's an hour and 36, whatever that translates.
I think
to.
it's 111 minutes. And so it's one of those things where like you watch it and it's you know
96 minutes.
is it 96? 96. One of them is
Or
like
you said,
shorter.
you said an hour and 37 minutes.
Yeah,
36,
hour
yeah,
36,
16
hour
and
37.
37.
One of them's like over 100 minutes. Anyways, I don't know which one's an hour. Like one movie is like an hour and like 15 minutes long. An hour and
No,
11.
Pixel Poetry and Pixels and Polygons are both an hour and 15.
Okay,
That's 75.
might have been one of those.
So that's 75. Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't
I
matter.
was thinking 1 hour
I
and
felt
11
like there was
minutes.
so much more content than there
Yeah.
actually was.
That's the thing is it gives you so much more content than what you believe you're watching. But it's really good stuff, and like what I love is it's a really good.
But one thing
Got
I
it.
will say, yeah, I mean, I'm proud of the work I did. I'm probably sicker of looking at it than other people are because I was behind the computer editing it the whole time.
Yeah.
So you kind of just get in that, so this sucks. Like, I hate this, you know, and you reach that inevitable point sometimes where you're just like, I want to redo all of this because it's not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, like Tiff is saying in the chat, she was saying Surviving Indy is her favorite, and we got
Aw.
sucked into it. No, like you know, you sent us a screener for
It's only because I showed Gaston in it.
it. Gaston was in it. That's true. Gaston was in it. Like, and we were in it for a
Gaston's their
second.
cat.
Gaston was our cat,
They're passed on.
our
cat.
passed on cat. But no, it was yeah, Gaston. No, but it was great, man. Like we really legitimately we loved the movie, and you know, even without knowing that we were going to be in it for like a little Easter egg, we loved it. And
Yeah.
it's just a really fun movie.
Well, part of it was produced in your home, so
But I guess that's true.
you know, this was the short time between my transition from Austin to Dallas, and I was waiting on trying to get a place going here and didn't have anywhere to stay, and you guys opened your home to me, so it was
Our home is your home.
It
You
was
know that always.
it was a humbling thing, and I got to, you know, this is the reason I got to continue work. I got to continue doing things because I got to. Well, I think I surprised you guys a little bit, but I had my computer set up, which my computer is a huge tower.
Yeah,
and-
we had
and
an edge of the counter, and like
They-
like Richard just set up. And we're like, whatever, man.
edge of their
Like,
kitchen
yeah,
counter, just
yeah.
sitting right there. Just
We don't
doing
give a
work.
shit, man. We love you.
So I got to continue work there, and that's one of the most important things. It's not just you know, having a place to stay. It's wonderful. It's nice to have that, but it's also a thing that you have to be able to keep working. Like, I have to keep making strides, otherwise I'm never going to get out of the hole that I'm in. And if I'm able to do that, I have the capability to do that. And you guys gave me that, and so I was able to continue doing that. And
Well, our home is always open to you, buddy. And
appreciate it.
we love you very much. We love you here, and I'm like really happy that you got a chance to come by and
Yes.
check out RedBeard live. And like that was good. Like, and I kind of want to end the show on that note. It's kind of an uplifting note about it's just just keep working, man. It's all about keep
Yeah.
working and make sure you have the connections, make sure you keep networking, and make sure that you keep people in your life that are important. And, you know, it's one of those things for me and Tiff's perspective, our home is your home. I mentioned this earlier tonight, but if you ever need a place to come and work, you have it at our place, man. You know
yeah,
you do.
and I think it's also worth remembering for for everybody who's trying to make strides in this industry is I always say make friends, not acquaintances, and that's always been an important thing to me because you want to keep a close circle of people that you can trust and hopefully work together with at some point.
Right.
That's always kind of the goal. And there's not enough transparency in our industry, I don't think. So it's kind of any entertainment industry in general.
And it's challenging, man, because a lot of people are just out for themselves.
Yeah.
And they're out to advance like their own,
relationships, I feel, are very key in this. In anything, especially. Just
Yeah,
the
well,
creative
and then
world.
don't play down what people think either, because we're not stupid.
Yeah.
We know when you're trying to play us, and so it's kind of one of those things where you treat everybody with the same amount of respect you would treat a close friend or family, and
You'll get
you
way
hang out
farther.
with hang out with people who have the same interests and stuff like that. Which fortunately in this industry, a lot of us have the same interests in a lot of ways.
I think it's also an important thing to add on, where it's like never take for granted the person that you're talking to.
Absolutely not.
You don't know the kind of weight, like the kind of pull that person can have.
Yeah, you don't know anything about a person's story.
when you write someone off, it's like you don't know, man. It's like it pays dividends to be kind and to be humble and to remember who you are.
And it doesn't cost anything either.
It's free.
Completely free.
It's free.
Man, I feel like we're gonna hug it out.
We should hug it out.
You can hug it out.
All right. Well, I love both you guys,
Oh my God.
and we're gonna hug it out because I appreciate the shit out of both of you. Mikey, we miss you on this episode. We love you, Mike. I know Richard missed you, and Superman's here for you. You missed the episode with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill stunt
You
double.
missed the Henry Cavill.
You missed the Henry, but Mike had to work on his car. Mike has got to spend every single moment making sure that his shit works. So we love you.
We all.
We love you, Mike, and we missed you. And we love you all. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you're not watching this on YouTube, make sure you jump over to Twitch at RedBeard_TV and follow us over there so you can watch our show live every Wednesday at 7:30 Central Time, which we stream on YouTube and we stream on Twitch. So you guys can make sure you follow us there. Here you can check out all of our information as far as Twitch, Instagram, and Facebook.
It's
that
all
is me
flying in like Superman.
That is me, Mike, and Shane. Richard, where can people find you on the Twitter machines?
On the Twitters at RichardCook1985, and I will be at RTX tweeting a bunch of stuff this whole weekend.
So make sure you follow him there. And if you guys want to check out any of Richard's movies, you can check out his production company, GameStar Arts.
Yeah,
Where can they find
GameStar
you?
Arts YouTube channel with 2 R's, GameStar. And it was from a time past. Don't worry about it. I use 1 R now. And on Steam, both my movies are on Steam.
Pixel Poetry
and Surviving Indie.
There you go. Check him out on Steam. Thank you so much, Richard. We love you, buddy. Shane, we love you. He's behind the camera. We love Shane so much. Make sure you guys follow Richard on all of the social platforms. Go check out his movies. He's got some games coming up that he's working on. Make sure you check out Battle Sloss, which is on Steam. Battle Sloss is on Steam, so make sure you guys check that out.
If anybody's at RTX, come say hi. Come play Battle Sloss. We're having a huge tournament. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome stuff. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. We love you, and we will see you next week.
Wait, say Battle Sauce now.
Battle Sauce now.
Yeah.
Now.